But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that.
Welcome back to Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. Well, we're in full swing now on the show, and we're going straight to review the papers for this morning. And we're going to start with Daily Trust. The major headline on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning says, "A day with dwellers of urban slums." That is the major headline, and carries riders. Dozens of tenants jostle for one toilet, bathroom at Lagos ghetto. And another one that says, "It's worrisome to raise children in such areas." Another rider says, "Local governments needs autonomy to solve problem." That is attributed to rights groups. That is the headline, "A day with dwellers of urban slums," on the front page of the Daily Trust. Moving down the page, there's a feature there that says, "Public figures whose fights have lingered on social media." Well, if you want to catch up with that is on page 37. Then, talking politics, it says, "Kano APC, Ganduje Shekaro meet Buni set to resolve crisis." That is a political story there on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. So the next headline that we see on the front page of the Punch is, "Meet ABU student who broke sociology's 37-year first-class jinx." Well, so nobody has had first class in sociology for the past 37 years, but this man actually did it. Or should I say, this student actually did it. That story is on page 14 of the Daily Trust newspaper. If you go to the top of the page, the entertainment story there, "Faces of Fading Nigerian Musicians." That is on page 16 of the Daily Trust. So if you want to catch up and find out where some of those musicians are, kindly pick up the Daily Trust and turn to page 16. And talking insecurity, says, "Bandits attack Niger, set military base ablaze." That is on page 7 of the Daily Trust newspaper. So those are the headlines on the front page of the Daily Trust this morning.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the next paper, which is Punch newspaper. Now, on Punch newspaper today, the lead story says, "Aggrieved APC factions shift battle to court, accuse party of contempt." And riders there says, "Threatened showdown, say collapse imminent if party doesn't resolve crisis." Why we didn't inaugurate Kano APC chairman, this is attributed to party secretary Akbandode. We also have victory certain. APC belongs to us, says ex-governor Mosun. Okay, moving on to more stories still on Punch. Right below that particular lead, we have 14 APC governors, 26 state chairmen backing Tinubu's presidential bid, says Jibrin. Still on politics, "I defeat Tinubu as APC candidate if PDP fields me," says Fayose. We also have, right beside that story, "We now work at construction sites after hoodlums killed our husbands. Widows of slain Anambra policemen." Details of that story can be found on page 27. Right at the bottom there, you'd see a story that says, "Lassa fever killed 40 in January, 324 fresh COVID-19 cases recorded," says NCDC. Anambra battles FIRS in court over stamp duty collection. 27,799 assets declaration forms collected from CCB in 2021 not returned, says federal government. And we also have World Bank blames federal government as high inflation worsens poverty. If you go to the top there, you'd see Atiku should be tired. He's been eyeing presidency for 29 years, says ex-campaign spokesman Afegwa. 18 billion naira constables recruitment budget divides NPF, PSC, Diri Knox exercise, and then tight security as Oshibajo, Jonathan Gowon, governors, others bid Shonikan farewell.
The next paper we're going to be looking at this morning is the Nation newspaper, and it carries the headline. The major headline there is about politics, and it says APC chairman Almakura Akume Mustafa Buhari in tight contest. That is talking about the APC party chairmanship, and that carries two riders here. The first one says governors, party leaders concede chairmanship to North Central, and then another one which says APC writes INEC again names Abuja National Convention venue. That is on the front page of the Nation newspaper. And talking insecurity on the front page of the Nation, kidnapping, police take over forests on Lagos-Ibadan, Abeokuta Road. And then another one that says Zamfara lawmakers launch fresh bid to impeach deputy governor. That is on the political scene. Then still talking insecurity now, 25 ISWAP fighters drown in Borno military attack. That is on the front page of the Nation as well. At the top of that front page, you'll find another political headline. Constitution Review Report ready end of February, says Omo Agege. And it says the lawmakers to effect 55 amendments in 1999 Constitution. Right beside that headline is another one that says Jibrin, 14 governors back in Tinubu's presidency bid. That is on page 4 of the Nation. And of course, the rider that follows says claims 26 APC state chairman also. And at the bottom of that page, Oshibanjo, Gowon, Jonathan, others honor Shonekan at burial. That is also on the front page of the Nation. And something there on the side of the front page, it says Segun Odegbami, I have no scandals. Polygamy is part of Egbaman's life. That is a story on the front page of the Nation newspaper. So these are the stories that are on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, the Guardian newspaper is next, and the lead here says terrorism financing, name, prosecute suspects, Nigerians tell Buhari. And details of that story can be found on page 2. We also have at burial service, leaders pay tribute to Shonekan. Navy deactivates 175 illegal refineries, arrests 27 vessels, 13 suspects. Details of that on page 4. We also have Guardian Music, Jades, the golden voice of Ada. Okay, and right at the bottom there, Evans denies confessional statement, says police wrote it. And that story can be found on page 5. Remember Evans, the kidnapper?
Alleged kidnapper.
Yes, alleged kidnapper, kingpin, you know, and everything. He's still in custody, by the way. All right, at the top there, you'd actually find DME. It's on celebrities, you know. DME, movies, series are more financially rewarding. And we also have Lagos anti-cultism law, when parents pay for children's sins. And for Guardian Woman, Ibilola Amao says, I believe in gender diversity and not equality. And these are the stories we have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper.
And lastly, this morning, we'll take a look at the Business Day Weekender, which carries this headline, How to Safeguard Your Art Collection. It says, like nature, art requires conservation. Dasha, do you have an art collection?
Yes, I do.
Oh, really? And how do you safeguard that?
I display them.
All right, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you want to find out how to safeguard your art collection and get some new points, you check at the front page of the Weekend newspaper. And then below that, you have African Excellence with Vimbai. There's actually a column that you can actually look at and find out exactly what they're talking about. And then an interview that says, How I Made My First Million. So if you want to find out who the person is and how he or she went about making that first million, pick up the Business Day Weekender this morning.
All right, these are all the stories on the front page of the dailies today. But, you know, there's this particular story that I think Ibrahim actually found very interesting or very funny. And it has to do with Segun Odegbami saying he has no scandals, that polygamy is part of an Egba man's life.
Yes.
When they say Egba man, it means the man is from Ogun State.
Okay.
That's what they call Egba. That's who they call Egba men.
And it's part of their tradition to practice polygamy.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. But I wonder why you found it funny.
No, well, if it was worthy of mentioning that he had it be carried in the front pages of newspapers, I mean, like, then definitely there's a story there.
Yeah, well, that's why it's a Saturday, you know, newspaper. So, you know, everything light, human angle is allowed. All right, so let's take a look at Daily Trust first of all, talking about, you know, this particular story that has to do with the urban slums, like, I don't know, I find it difficult. Now, it's I actually served in Ogun State, and I know there are lots of face me, I face yous. You know, you have like 10 rooms with one bathroom, one kitchen. Do you get? But in this case, this one, I say dozens of tenants jostle for one toilet bathroom at this particular Lagos ghetto, and you know, I find it difficult to understand, you know, even though I know there's poverty in Nigeria.
Of course,
right? I know there's poverty in Nigeria, and most people cannot afford, you know,
decent accommodation.
Decent accommodation, but I'm still trying to imagine. Just seeing the picture alone, I'm just trying to imagine.
Well, the thing is, nobody lives in these kind of places by choice. You understand? Circumstances actually lead people to live in places like this, and the places are actually there for them. So it's just one step away from homelessness, I think, you know, because living in places like this with the dangers that are out there, it's just, like I said, one step from being homeless. At least you have a roof
over your head.
Exactly,
yeah,
and maybe 3.5 walls or something like that. Yeah, but you actually put your head there. So it's a crisis, I believe, and a housing crisis and whatnot. Because really, if we face the fact, accommodation is expensive. You know, most especially in places like Lagos, it's very difficult for you to get decent accommodation at a decent price. So people are resort to living in these kind of places because they don't have a choice.
Some also live in water.
Yes, on water, you understand. And some live on the streets, you know, because they have absolutely nowhere to go.
Some live under the bridge as well.
And they have absolutely nowhere to go, but they're not there by choice, you know. Things need to be done. But homelessness is a global issue.
Yeah, it is.
It's a global issue. It's not just,
here,
exactly, it's not just a Nigerian problem. You go to other countries, there are homeless people, you know, it's like that. So maybe in some places it's more. In some places, even in parts of this country, it's worse in some other parts of the country than others. But still, it's a thing that affects everyone.
Okay, now let's move on to, you know, faces of fading Nigerian musicians. Like, should we really call them fading, or should we say they're becoming timeless as the years go by?
Well, not really. I mean, like, what they're trying to say is that some of them have been relegated to the background because you don't even know where they are now. You know, they used to make waves back in the day. We used to listen to their music. We used to jam to it, and right now we don't know where they are. I mean, like, I think I see Tony Tetwila there.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the first person.
Exactly. So I saw Tony Tetwila there. So we don't even know where he is now.
I can even see Paul Play Dairo.
Exactly.
I can see Shina Peters. I can see Kenny St. Brown.
So for people like Shina Peters, those are the ones that you can say that, okay, fine, they're timeless. You understand? Because he's still there, he's still out there, he's still performing, he's still doing shows.
Yeah.
Exactly. But when was the last time you saw Tony Tetwila?
You know, most times, in most cases, you know, when like right now in Nigeria, where the youth have actually taken over the musical space, what these oldies actually do is they perform more. Yes, like you said, they're relegated to the background, but they go on shows more, perform more, rather than come out with, you know,
albums,
and they actually feature these new musicians more.
So what you see, that the thing is, you know, the good thing about music is you will not lack an audience. You understand? There are people who still listen to these so-called old musicians, as we just put them, because maybe it's because of nostalgia. Some people grew up listening to this music, and it actually takes them back to a time where things were actually different, you know. But some of them actually have disappeared, you know. Some of them have really disappeared, and we really don't know where they are because they haven't done anything in a very long time. But for those like the Shina Peters that we talked about, Sonia Days, they're still there. They're still kicking it because they still have their audiences, and they still make music, and they still make shows and make lots of money as well, you know. But some of them actually have not been able to should I say, move with the times.
And some are now famous for scandals.
Yes, well, so if you have so much idle time on your hands, then you just become scandalous, I think. They resort to the next best thing, which is becoming scandalous. At least, well, they say no press is bad press for celebrities, exactly. So at least they're out there and you can see them.
Okay, now there's a story here. I think more or less like an interview with an ABU student who broke sociology's 37-year first-class jinx, and it can be found on page 14 of Daily Trust newspaper. And her name is Mumina Musa Agaka. Yes, so she's 22 years old, and she graduated with a CGPA of 4.60. Wow.
Really? That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
I know. I took a course in sociology, so I know how
difficult it was.
Not difficult. It's actually fun.
Okay.
But it's actually it's fun. The process is fun, but it's difficult for you to write. When I say it's more practical than theoretical.
Okay.
Do you get? The practical aspect is very, very interesting. But when it comes to theory and then writing exams,
it's
quite difficult.
And so for her to actually achieve what she did is actually no mean feat. But the thing is, sometimes people talk about these things. We do celebrate some of these people in this particular that achieve things like this. But in my opinion, well, I don't know about you, but is it really enough? Is it really encouragement enough? Because right now you might say, okay, fine, she graduated the first class after 4 years of grueling school, and then give her 25,000 naira and one laptop, and ask her to go home.
It's not enough.
And ask her to go home.
In such situations, these kind of students don't need. I don't think they actually need the money. Do you get? What about scholarships?
Exactly. It's not all about the money.
It's not all about the money. It's about supporting them until they get to where they are.
Exactly.
Scholarships to the best schools.
So that they can actually build on what they have started to achieve. Because if somebody can go through 4 years of school and then come out with a result like that, and somebody will go and stay in a house for like a couple of days and then gets millions and billions of naira, it really doesn't make much sense. We need to get our priorities straight when it comes to things like this. But well, congratulations to her for what she's done. I mean, like, at least her hard work has paid, and well, we hope that she can continue building on that she has already started building right now.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to something else. Let's talk about. Let's go to another newspaper. Talking about the Nation newspaper. Now, insecurity is everywhere. Everywhere, even on Daily Trust, we have, a story of bandits attacking Niger and setting the military, base ablaze.
The truth is, you can't pick up a newspaper or listen to any news bulletin or watch any news bulletin on TV without having a story on insecurity. It's something that we have been living with, and we continue to live with in the recent past, and it's still with us. It seems that there's no end to it. All measures that have been taken, you hear measures being taken. Sometimes there are some victories, yes, but sometimes it's just disheartening when you pick up the papers or you listen to the news and you hear all these stories of people causing chaos, mayhem, everywhere, and victims are just piling up. The victims are just piling up. You have homeless people being rendered homeless, parentless. It's just terrible.
And now
and it's sad.
They're trying to close down IDP, saying people should go back to their communities.
Yes. Well, there are lots of atrocities being committed in the IDP camps as well. That is the problem. You understand? When you have cases of rape, molestation, assault being carried out in the IDP camps, because they left their homes because they were driven out. They are not there by choice. They left their homes because they were driven out, and this was supposed to be a safe place for them. Unfortunately, those charged with the responsibility of taking care of them are the ones that are perpetrating these heinous acts on these people. So it's like double jeopardy for them. If you go back home,
the IDPs complain that they sometimes they don't even eat.
Yes, because the people that are responsible for taking care of them their eye is not on the ball. They're thinking of something else. They're doing other things that are not supposed to be done. You understand? So that's the problem. So it's like double jeopardy, just like I said. If you go home, you're not safe. You come to the IDP camp, you get treated like garbage. So it's really sad when you look at it.
Okay, now let's move on to, this news on the Guardian newspaper that says Navy deactivates 175 illegal refineries and arrests 27 vessels and 13 suspects. This, the deactivation of the illegal refineries, if you ask me, is a plus, a huge plus in my book.
Well, these modular refineries or these kind of illegal refineries are actually big business right now down in the south. You know, you hear reports of them springing up and whatnot. And of course, it's not all about maybe the economic aspect of it. They cause serious environmental issues as well. I mean, like the soot that we were talking about earlier. So, and it's caused by all this. So we don't even know the extent of how damaging that is to the environment right now, because we haven't even examined that. All we know that is an environmental anomaly, but we don't know how it's going to be.
The water bodies, you know,
of course.
Yeah, you know. And then you have some people saying it will take 30 years or more
to clear that up.
So, you know, all the fishes, the shrimps, you know, that they used to get. And still on, let's see, the Punch newspaper. Let's take a look at Saturday Punch newspaper. There's a story here that talks about, you know, Lassa fever and COVID-19, saying Lassa fever killed 40 people in January alone. And then 324 fresh COVID-19 cases have actually been recorded by the NCDC. Now, Ibrahim, do you think we're doing enough, you know, when it comes to health in Nigeria?
No. We haven't been doing enough, and we're still not doing enough, even with emerging things like this. You understand? Lassa fever has been something that has been around for a very long time. It's been around for a while.
Even before COVID.
Exactly, even before COVID, and in some quarters actually deadlier than COVID. You understand? It has a higher mortality rate in some quarters. So it is something that has been around. We haven't tackled it. COVID came and joined forces, and we're still looking at them. You understand? So we really need to do more in areas like this, most especially in areas of creating awareness about things like this. I mean, like diseases like Lassa fever can be avoided because we know how they are contracted, and we know what we can be able to do to avoid things like this from happening. But unfortunately, just like you said, we don't do enough, and more needs to be done. It's not enough for us to come and say 40, 70, 80 people died because of Lassa fever, and that's that, and we turn the page and we move on. It really doesn't work like that. Well, we have a problem of planning and implementation when it comes to things like this. Sometimes we'll sit down, we'll set up a committee, and we'll come up with a beautiful plan, a fantastic plan on paper, and then we'll leave it there where it is. You know, there's no follow through, there's no plan for the implementation, and things just keep going the way they are going. So it is unfortunate that things like this still happen in the health sector. It's something that needs to be looked at.
I think when it comes to Lassa fever, it has to do more with hygiene.
Exactly.
Yes, our hygiene, very important. You know, the gutters in front of our houses need to be cleaned every Saturday. Back in the day, there used to be sanitation.
Environmental
every
sanitation,
Saturday.
yes. Environmental sanitation.
What happened to that?
Well, some states I think still have it. Yeah, some states actually still do it. I think it's the last Saturday of the month. Some states have environmental sanitation, but even at that, it's just it's just something that is said. All right, there's sanitation today, so you can't move around from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and that's that. You know. Back then, there used to be health inspectors that really go around to inspect and make sure that your environment is clean and that you're actually sanitizing your environment. But unfortunately, right now, it doesn't happen. You know, they just say there's sanitation and that's that, and there's no movement. And after that, everybody goes about doing his normal business, and we don't think about it again until the last Saturday of the month. You know, it's not something that someone needs to force you to do.
Now, one thing I know boarding schools actually teach students is every Saturday is sanitation. So you wake up, sanitize your immediate and external environment, you know, clean everything. So I think, you know, that habit has actually been inculcated in those who, you know, went to boarding school. So even as they grow, they learn to always, you know, take care of themselves. You know, no need, the state doesn't even have to declare, you know, a sanitation day. You know that when it's Saturdays, you know, you wake up and do stuff, clean your environment.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, just like I said, it's not something that somebody needs to remind you to do. It's supposed to be second nature. I live here, I need to take care of it for my own benefit. There are other people who don't have a choice, just like we talked about the people that lived in the ghettos and the slums and whatnot, because they're not there by choice.
But even the slums can actually be clean.
They can do that. They can be clean, but it all depends. You can only work with what you have. You understand?
And this is why it's important for every Nigerian to actually have a skill. Imagine, you know, this slum we're talking about, if we had, you know, builders, if we had plumbers, do you know what can actually be done, what they can actually do?
So they can do a little do it yourself, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's something that actually needs to be looked at. But I think we're we're doing something now in the area of skill acquisition, because we're always talking about it. We have skill acquisition centers and whatnot, and more emphasis is being placed on people being self-employed and getting these skills. So I think we'll get there. We'll get there, hopefully.
Okay. All right, I think with that, we wrap up the newspaper review today on Daybreak Extra. Thank you so much for, listening to us. When we come back after this break, it'll be time for the first discussion.
But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that